Namaste. Welcome to Ask Me Anything, Ask Helen Anything, volume 24. Wow, which means we've been doing this for 2 years pretty much. And that's quite amazing. It's something that started with just a few questions and has grown into something even more amazing. So we will go through questions that were left under volume 23. So if you are watching this and you have a question or something you'd like to get some help with, if you leave it as a comment under this video here on YouTube, then when we look at it next month, we try to do it once a month, depending on my schedule, traveling, etc. Then I'll address whatever you've put on there. So let's get started. Without further ado, I'll ask you, Karen, to begin whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Good morning, and I am ready. So the first question is from Christine, and she says, "Hi, Helen. As you say, we are not the doer. So how to make major life decisions for the care of the body, such as finding a new home, as I am now doing? I know you have said with choosing clothes and food, the body will eventually pick something. And for many years, this being has had a sense of what to eat and wear and do in everyday matters and followed it. But with big, expensive undertakings, such as a home to be found, what is the way there? Is it just the same, just being neutral to, so to speak, and getting a sense of what feels right to do? It's been several years of looking in the usual ways and following a sense of what to look at and what not, despite logic. And there has been no sense of the right home, budget combo, or even a home that feels wholly like mine outside of budget. Thank you for your comments and your work. I really appreciate your gentle, warm, kind, and honest and clear manner." Christine.
Thank you. And as you see the intelligence that the body has, it is the self. It will guide you towards those seeming decisions that need to be made. But as you said, there is no separate self that's choosing. And when we look at something that seems bigger, like choosing a home or choosing a job, it seems like there's more at risk there of making the wrong decision. So recognizing what is, even now, what is making these decisions is the infinite self. The infinite self is the you that is everywhere. And as such, you are in tune with everything that's going on in the entire universe. That may not be very obvious, but if you are the universe, then you can't really be out of sync with it. So I'd suggest really taking a moment to really write down, get clear on what you actually want in, let's use the example of the home that you brought because it's a good one. What is it you want in a home? Have you really looked at it? You might know that you want a new place and you might want certain things in it, but can you define more clearly how you want to feel when you're in that, sitting at home after a day at work or something? How do you want to feel? And what do you want? You can define it physically as well, what kind of things you would like in that home. But the first, most important thing is to get clear on what you want, because you can't hit a target that you can't see. So the first thing is to get clear on what you want. You, as the infinite self, have desires. Those desires are arising to give you more inner abundance of peace and joy and all of that. So recognizing if the desire is not coming from a separate self or a separate doer of actions, then it has to be coming from the infinite self, because that's all there is. The awareness, the consciousness. It sounds strange to say that it has desires, but it really does when it appears as a human being. When it doesn't appear as anything in its formlessness, then it has no desire there. There's nothing to desire, nor could it ever want anything. And when it appears as a human being, it very much does have desires, just as animals do, etc. So recognizing that getting clear on what you want is the first thing. Then the fact that there is no separate self, it cannot fail. As long as we're clear to give us what we want, as long as we're clear on what we want and why. Just kind of, it might be that I really want to move house because I don't like living here. So, for example, I want to move house because I want to get away from a situation here, or I don't know, something like that. So what we really want is to transcend the things that we're avoiding by moving house. So sometimes we'd have to look at those first before the right place came into view. So looking at what you want in your new home and why you want it, and you might have already done that bit, but just staying with it. And then the recognition that if you've done all that and you see that there's no separate doer to actually make it happen, that if it's not happening, it must be for a reason, meaning it's not the right time, or the perfect home is waiting for you, but maybe somebody's still living in it right now at this point, or something like that. But that it cannot be absent from you. It cannot be hidden from you. It can't be that you don't get what you want. The fastest way to get what you want is to begin to feel how you want to feel. You want a new home because of how it's going to make you feel. That's always the root of all our desires. Even the desire for awakening is really based on how it's going to make us feel when we have it. So let's turn that around and begin to feel how we want to feel. Why can't we feel that way now? And any external reference point that we give as to why we can't feel, you know, I want to move house because I'll feel better when I do, and I can't feel that way now because the neighbors are too noisy, too messy. It's not the outside thing that's causing us to feel a certain way inside. It's an idea, a thought that's reflecting as an emotion. I don't feel safe, so I have a lot of fear, and that results in noise. It reflects as noisy neighbors or whatever. So looking at any ideas underneath that, any emotions, and asking, really challenging why you can't feel that way now. If you start to feel safe, peaceful, quiet, content, then the whole universe is going to move to give you things that help you feel that way, agree with that feeling, because you are the universe. So I hope that helps. Just recognizing that there is no separate self, as you said, and that big decisions and small decisions are all handled exactly the same from the self. If you want this, it's because life is moving this way anyway. You don't have to make it happen, because that would be a separate self. Thanks, Karen.
Okay, this next question is from Nate, and he sent in two questions, so I'm going to read both of them. Dear Helen, I'm so grateful that you dropped into my life, seemingly out of the ether. You have surprised me. I believe I've heard you say something like, just relax, get out of your own way. It will take care of itself. I've experienced this directly, seeing with certainty that I have no responsibility or obligations, seeing the ease of it all. I've been everything, everywhere, all at once, no doer. But I think I've also heard you say something like, just stay with it, align yourself with the deeper truth. Question, if there's no doer and no chooser, who or what is choosing to stay with it? Who or what is aligning itself or getting out of the way? At times, I am the knowing that knows it can't get this wrong because it's all happening perfectly, all on its own. And yet you speak about the possibility of speeding up this process. Who's speeding things up? One could imagine this has practical implications. Should I relax and watch a movie, thus getting out of my own way? Or should I meditate more, thus speeding things up? But there are no shoulds, and whether I meditate or watch a movie makes no difference because I'm home either way. So this is about being still, and the stillness, noticing the beliefs have gone unnoticed for so long. The ones that say I am separate, that seems to be enough. Gradually, I will be awake. I will be aware that I'm home while watching a movie or while meditating. And eventually I may be aware that even challenging situations are home. I would love to hear your comments on this. Does it fit with your experience, or have I tripped myself up somewhere? Much love, Nathan. And then his second question. Dear Helen, this is Nathan, who wrote you that fairly long question yesterday. It was valuable to me to write it out, but this morning during meditation, a more succinct version of the question arose. What is the nature of resistance? And what is the nature of seeing through or dissolving resistance? Thank you so much for all that you've given me in the past month, Nathan.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that the teachings are helpful to you. So resistance is really just an energy. You're asking what is the nature of resistance? It's an energy, it's a frequency, it's a vibration. We could say that resistance is a universal human experience, right? If I've never met anyone that hasn't had resistance to something, and most likely to new things or changing things, doing things differently. And that never plays more strongly than in our spiritual pathway, our practice. We, out of habit, do things a certain way, and there's a momentum of energy and thoughts going towards that particular way we're doing it. Suddenly we're asked to go this way and or start a new practice or change something. And there's this, if you imagine a big fast-moving train doing 100 miles an hour, and they put the brakes on, and it might take them 1.5 miles to stop, to actually come to a complete halt, or whatever that distance is, because of the momentum that's being built. And so resistance is always going to be there to changing this. It's much easier for the energy to keep going that same way. Or you could think of resistance as a slower, all vibration is vibrating, oscillating. Energy is just vibration. And some are going really fast and really high, like bliss and peace and all of that. Some are going really kind of slow, and we could say that's fear and guilt and shame. Resistance is just an energy that's slower moving than the one we're trying to bring in. So we've got this kind of quick moving energy we want to bring in terms of a practice or some new thing. And we've got this slower, like wading through molasses or treacle. You can get through it, but it feels a little, sticky. So the way that we do that is we just do it, and we don't try to make it perfect. So let's put a concrete example. Let's say I'm trying to learn to meditate in the way that I'm advising in these teachings. At first, it may feel very unnatural. I may feel completely out of my comfort zone. I may feel very restless. Something doesn't want to do it. Can't even really bring myself to sit down. There's the resistance right there. And even while we're actually doing it, we might feel that we are not getting it right. We're missing the point, or don't want to do it. Constantly looking at the clock, see if we've finished the 20 minutes period, so to speak. So then that's the nature of resistance, but also it helps to recognize it's everyone's experience. Everyone resists new things, everyone. And it's because of the nature of the mind, if you look at it, and energy. When something's been going that way for so long, it's kind of, you've got to slow it down a little bit before you can turn it around. And when we're building any new habit, which is all we're really doing with our practice, coming to consistent practice, we're going to be the effect of the old ways of doing it, the old habits for a little while, and the new one that we're trying to build. Can't get rid of an old habit. You can only replace it with a new one. So I had very good habits of consistently avoiding meditation, self-inquiry, anything that would, move me beyond where I was. I was very well practiced at accidentally avoiding, forgetting, procrastinating. And for a while they're in that crossover period. So let's not blame ourselves for that. Everyone has resistance. I still feel resistance to certain things, especially when something new comes up, technology, things like that. The difference being now, it's not my resistance. So this is the second part of your question, how to transcend it. It's just resistance. Or perhaps I don't even want to label it with that name. I just feel this kind of something I just need to kind of push through a little bit. And as soon as I start to move towards it, it evaporates. So it doesn't stop me doing anything like it used to. It used to kind of, it was like, so this molasses is getting less and less thick, and it's just eventually like clear water. No big deal, or air even eventually. But it's not mine. It's not my resistance as a separate being. It's just an energy that the mind generates because it wants to keep things the same. It thinks if I keep things the same, this is how I keep safe, mind says. And so it doesn't like change. It doesn't like different things, new things. It's going to resist those. But if you know that and you don't take it personally, it's not your fault resistance is there. It's just there. And it happens to the best of us anyway, right? So if you've ever tried to learn a musical instrument or learn a new language or anything like that, it's the same as we're faced here in our awakening. Practice is going to come with resistance, always. But just understanding that literally everyone has experienced that. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's why the Buddha went and sat down under the Bodhi tree and said, right, I'm sitting here until I've just got through this, you know? We don't know. We only see the results of it afterwards, but running towards, or at least moving towards, being willing to just let that resistance be, feel it in the body, and do the practice anyway. And always and only not taking it as a separate being. It's just an energy. Thank you.
The next question is from Stella. Hi, Helen. Thank you so much for your teachings. They're profound and they've helped me enormously. I've been a student of non-duality for over 10 years and had many profound experiences seeing the truth. Last time it lasted almost a day where I had no thoughts and completely in oneness. I'm struggling with two issues. One, keeping the state, although I know in truth I am that, and most importantly, I feel stuck somehow. I've had a very similar life as yours with fears, anxiety, depression. And now for 10 years, I haven't been able to keep a job. I have no patience with people and dramas. So I keep to myself, only immersing in my craft, jewelry making, and non-duality. I understand these are my passions, but I have no motivation to sell my jewelry. Shops ask me to arrange a website, etc., but there's no doing. I also get anxious with money issues and paperwork as I'm going through a divorce now. Please help me. Thank you so much.
So thank you for being so brave in sharing that. It's not easy. But I'd like to suggest that the two issues are really the same one. So being able to live as the infinite self rather than the separate self is very, very, it's one side of a coin, seeing who we really are and seeing who we're not. Two sides of a coin that must exist together. So it's always and only seeing. So what happens when we start to see who we actually are, or even have an interest in seeing who we actually are, formless reality that is omnipresent, then what begins to happen even before we have seen, the things that are not in agreement with that are coming up also. And this is why quite often our life has been quite challenging, not working so well in certain areas. Our life is a reflection of what we're holding onto inside. So for me, during my awakening, before and during, and very definitely after clear seeings had happened of my own emptiness, my own formlessness, the formlessness, everything that I hadn't been able to resolve came to the surface. Fear, guilt, shame, anger, you name it, apathy. Because these are reflections, whatever emotions we're feeling are a reflection of an idea that we're holding inside. It's hard to resolve these when we're trying to pin them onto an outer world experience. Mind will say, I'm scared because I don't have enough of this, or I feel guilty because I did that thing to that person or didn't do what I should have done. Mind will say, I'm angry because I'm being blocked from getting what I want. But it's only and always about the emotion itself. I'm just scared because there's a belief still inside that I'm not safe. What that means is my seeing of who I am, who I really am, has not yet gone deep enough to fully penetrate this belief and to move it out of the system completely, the body, the mind, and our relationships, our life, everything. So we see who we really are, formlessness that cannot die, cannot be damaged, hurt, and cannot suffer. And this makes it ever more clearer in our lives where we're still feeling we aren't safe, that we need something or someone or something to change before we are safe. And we try all these ways to feel safe or to feel loved or to feel worthy, whatever the emotion is. But it comes down to that our thought structure is still functioning in separation. I'm still thinking like a separate person or someone, even though I've seen clearer who I actually am. So this is when we begin here, we use the contemplation tools, and there's a playlist, the core teachings playlist, and a contemplation playlist here on the YouTube channel. If you go to the playlists and have a look, there's several videos showing examples of contemplation. And you can begin to work with this more directly. So there's nothing going wrong in your life and you're awakening. It's just that the things that no longer fit with your new seeing of who you really are asking to be questioned. We've believed these thoughts for so long that we're not safe. That's why we don't want to do anything in the world. We don't want to engage. I totally get it. I completely hid in this house for almost a year. It was the longest, most boring year of my life. But so eventually you come through it. And eventually I realized I must feel unsafe somewhere still inside my I might know it here, I might even be knowing it here, but my body, my tissues, so to speak, are still feeling, my cells still have this residue of fear. So questioning using contemplation, looking at the emotion, not pinning it on anything in the world, just the raw emotion, just fear, not fear of, or anger of, or shame because, just shame, and asking it what it wants to tell you. And it will tell you some story. Shame for me said, I really don't deserve to exist. Fear said, I'm not safe. Guilt said, I'm really not good enough. Anger said, I can't get what I want. I'm blocked. So using that contemplation process then to turn it into a question, challenging the idea, because those ideas feel very true for the separate self. They're completely untrue for the infinite self. Asking the question long enough, is it really true? I'm not safe, actually. And the whole contemplative process has been explained in more detail, but to ask that question every time we need to, every time fear comes up, is it really true that I'm blocked, can't get what I want? Is that true for me now as the infinite self? Is it true I'm not good enough, given what I've seen myself to be? We didn't even think of challenging these things before because they felt so true and we kept experiencing them. Because they felt true, we kept experiencing them. Because we're experiencing them, we keep agreeing. Around it goes. But now these are so far out of alignment with who you've seen yourself to be. They're coming up bigger and bigger. So now just applying this contemplative, just pick the biggest emotion first, find the story. And in the introductory teachings page on the website, helenhamilton.org, there is a document on there, emotions and hidden beliefs. So these might give you some pointers as to what the emotion is trying to tell you, some story. They're just from my own experience, what I found when I asked the emotion. So I'd really recommend you ask them yourself. As if the fear was a person and you could sit down next to it and say, what do you want to tell me about life? What would it say? What would anger say if it was a person and it could speak to you? Then you question. Nothing's going wrong here. This is the embodiment of your awakening happening. This is the old way of thinking giving way to new ways of thinking or not thinking at all. It's a common spiritual myth in awakening that having a clear seeing is going to fix everything and I'll stop suffering immediately. It does help, of course, but the very next moment, if we go back to the same old thought structure, then that truth cannot express itself as our life, as peace, joy, and abundance. So nothing is going wrong here at all. I hear this type of thing and I've lived it so often. My life was in a very dark corner when I started to use these tools, and it has totally turned around because of it. So you're in the right place in your awakening, and don't blame yourself for what's happening. These beliefs affect our experience, reflect as our experience until we question them. And quite often it takes a little while to realize why things seem to be getting worse, not working out. And then to realize we can question them. And then, of course, applying that. So thank you for your brave sharing. And if you need more help on contemplation, please write back in. Thanks, Karen.
The next question is from Michael. As an example, Robin Williams died. Who is he now? Is he the me that I have always been and always will be?
So everyone is you. Everyone is you. There is only the one being experiencing itself through many bodies and through many individual experiences or souls. So the one being dreams itself into many different souls, which is just a subtle, energetic, astral form, we could call. And that is what is using this body to speak right now, non-different to you, just like different leaves on the same branch of a tree that belong to the same tree, are made of the same tree, a same branch even, and but each one unique and individual and different, not separate. No soul is separate. It is made out of the infinite self. So his soul is currently, well, I don't know, I haven't checked, but currently not in a physical incarnation. And but whether that is whether one has a physical body or not, we are all the same one being. We call the bodies names just for ease of communication, but it is really the individuality, not separateness, individual uniqueness of the soul expressing itself through that body. And there is only one being, but it can express itself an infinite number of ways. And it's doing that with every blade of grass is unique, every grain of sand, every snowflake, every butterfly's wing, every human being, even infinite in the same human being's capacity to approach the same problem. Infinite number of varieties, infinite number of ways for every teacher to express the same truth, and infinite number of ways for teachers to appear as the truth. It just completely infinite. So I hope that helps, but please do write back in if you need more with that. Thanks, Karen.
The next question is from Ananda Sidhu. What's the relationship between meditation and non-duality, if any?
So for me, meditation is non-duality. Non-duality is meditation. Non-dual means not two, it means one. Meditation is also that oneness, as we're using that word here in these teachings, at least. Oneness of I am being what I already am, and just being it more and more consciously. Meditation is simply bringing attention back to what is real and always. So to me, there is no difference. There are other forms of meditation that are dualistic, but the real non-duality must be inclusive of, the real oneness must be inclusive of everything, or else it's not oneness. If there's anything outside of my oneness, I'm going to put duality over there because it's not real. It has to go over there. And this is what's real here. Then it's not real oneness, is it? There's two-ness. What I'm counting as real and what I'm counting as unreal. So reality has to include the unreal. And we do this with our meditation. We use the phenomena and the forms, whether those are tangible, gross, visible forms, or subtle forms, phenomena like thoughts and emotions, experiences, sensations in the body, to point us back to what's real. So we use the apparent moving, changing, coming and goingness to point us back to that which is not changing and is always constant, always here. So phenomena aren't wrong or bad, they just don't have any real independent existence outside of that in which they appear. They're like waves on an ocean surface. You couldn't have a wave without the ocean, just not possible. So meditation in its purest, simplest expression is non-duality. It is the same thing. So hope that helps. Thanks, Karen.
And he had a second question, which is, in the journey of spirituality or toward self, where is the place of non-dualism in meditation?
Could you just read that one again for me?
Sure. In the journey of spirituality or toward self, the self, where is the place of non-dualism in meditation?
Okay, well, I feel like I've just answered that in what I've just said, but if you need more on that, please do write back in. Thank you, Karen.
Jonas writes in to say thank you.
Thank you.
And the next question is, hi, Helen. I feel frustrated because I'm unable to make contact with people I'm attracted to, meaning that from time to time, I feel a certain desire towards someone, yet it always seems some kind of circumstance that prevents me from going deeper with that relationship. I do have a partner and we are close, but I do not feel attracted to him. I would like to experience it with someone else, yet I feel always somehow blocked and thwarted in any effort to come close to it. Sometimes I think it's my own immaturity and fears that block me from achieving it, yet I see many people around me experiencing the same. At the same time, I'm aware that in our culture, sexual relationships are often difficult to achieve and are veiled with some kind of taboo. And taking into account how normal and natural they are, no wonder we usually experience difficulties in reaching them. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. The whole subject of sex and sexuality is still one of the biggest taboos in society, isn't it? So, but from terms of what you were asking, in terms of not being able to move forward towards something that you want in this area, I'd suggest a couple of things. If it's not happening and we want it, it's usually, if we want something and it's not occurring, it's not manifesting, let's perhaps be clearer. There is always a reason why not. So first of all, the couple of options. First, we don't really want what we want. So do we want a sexual relationship with someone, or do we actually really want some intimacy, some connection, some deep sense of union? And one doesn't necessarily have to preclude the other. If I begin to feel that way, I can also, from my awakening, I can also enjoy that with a physical partner too, as a way of agreeing with that way I'm feeling. But I can't have that union, that intimacy with a physical partner if I don't feel that way inside. So unconsciously, I will be pushing away someone that I might share that experience with. If I don't feel safe, that fear of intimacy is really just fear. I'm not saying this is what's going on, just using it for an example. It might be what's going on, I don't know, but you'll get a sense of it inside. And so looking at why would I unconsciously want to stop this happening? And it could be from fear. It could also be from guilt. You say you have a partner already and you feel close to them, just not kind of, it's not happening in a sexual arousal way. I'm paraphrasing from what you have said. So it might be more helpful to look at why there isn't that arousal happening in your current relationship as well, because maybe there's a sense of guilt deep down that you're looking elsewhere. And again, it's just a suggestion, might not be what's actually occurring. Somehow, in some way, unconsciously, you must be blocking this from happening. So it's just really question, everything I've said is looking at why. Why would I, on some level, not consciously, of course, want to stop this desire from manifesting? And it's usually some belief in there. So Looking also at the intimacy with your current partner, maybe it might be good to just investigate that inside your own being, or if you can discuss it with them too, if that's something you can do, just exploring how you both feel about that. At least you can explore how you feel about a lack of sort of intimacy in that way, uh, even if you can't discuss it with your partner. So hope that helps. It's always a desire of the infinite self. It's never the separate self, but that desire might be buried in many layers of how we think we're going to get that feeling that we want. And really, if we're all honest, everything that we want it because of how it's going to make us feel, even this, especially this. So hope that helps. Thanks, Karen.
Next question is from Shafi. I heard you saying the physical form of each being is a representation of subtle astral form soul. Can you please elaborate on the subtle astral form? When this physical form ends by death, the subtle form ends too? Or subtle form takes another physical form? Are there many different souls? The soul that animates through this body is different than the soul that animates through your body.
So good question. And I did discuss this subject a little bit in a few questions back. So I will give a brief answer, but please do ask for more. So the soul is just an energetic arising, a very subtle form arising out of the formlessness. There isn't such a thing as form and formless as absolutes. It's not like emptiness and a table, there's a whole gradation in between of subtle forms. The soul might be the first of those, and then it solidifies down even more into thoughts and emotions. And so soul, we could say, is just an energetic form, and it is the soul that is talking to you right now and listening to these words. It's listening through the ears, but it is the physical ears, the physical words, but it's the soul that's interacting and learning and growing at all times. The physical body is like an outfit of clothes that we put on only. So the soul is the one that's remembering. As to how many souls there are, it depends on where you're looking from. If you think you are a separate being, there might be an infinite number of souls. If you realize that all souls are just an expression of the one cosmic consciousness, the one supreme self, then really there's only one soul, or there's no souls, because it's all the self. So there can be none, one, or an infinite number, depending on where you're looking from. That might be helpful. It might be more confusing, but again, right back in if you want more detail about that. The soul does not die. It continues to expand and grow. It does not die when the physical body dies. It will usually go through some kind of review process of what it achieved or didn't achieve. And whether it experiences another physical form or not is largely due to where it left off spiritually. The physical form, our physical body gives us contrast, gives us a sense of time, a sense of duality, a sense of separateness, a sense of change, a sense of evolution and growth. And it's quite challenging for the soul to experience that when it's slower to experience that when it's not in a physical form. So it will try to, the main thing that drives the soul's reincarnation, not another separate lifetime, but another body, another outfit. You go to the store, you get another outfit, the old one was worn out. Nothing's happened to you in that, right? It is the unfulfilled desires in the soul, which are usually a desire to feel safe, a desire to feel loved, a desire to feel free. And that's what the soul is currently pursuing in this lifetime through this kind of satsang and awakening journey. So however far we get with that in this lifetime, whether we leave this body feeling safe, loved, free, in deep recognition of who we are, then there is no unconscious drawback to another physical existence. If we don't quite get to the end of that, we'll be unconsciously drawn back to another physical existence. Doesn't mean we can't have another physical existence as a awakened being, but it will be a choice, a fully conscious choice, which we will remember at all times throughout the next lifetime. So hope that helps. But again, if you need more clarity, just ask.
Next question is from Alicia Jane. I've been having kind of a strange experience lately. Can you let me know if this sounds like something you've heard of? I wake up and I'm confused about what time it is. Like I sleep 1 hour and I wake up and I think it's 12 hours later. We're just really confused about what time it is and what time I think it is. Today I woke up and I thought it was 6 hours later than it was. When it happens, I feel very confused and I have to struggle to figure out what actually time it is. I've had to Google the time to figure it out. I've been on the planet a long time and this has never happened to me before. Now it's happening often. I guess I just feel out of sorts and confused when I wake up. Thanks.
So if you are, and I'm assuming in my answer that you are on the pathway towards awakening, then most likely what is occurring is that you're beginning to have some recognition of who you really are, the formless infinite self, which is also timeless. It never began and will never end. And even if we haven't had a clear seeing of this, we can still be starting to understand even mentally what that means. That really, I'm not at the effect of time. I'm not limited by time. I am timeless. I'm always here. You are always here. And you are everywhere and everything. From there is no sense of time. And we experience timelessness every night in deep sleep, usually for very brief periods of deep sleep. We don't really need that much deep sleep. Usually it's more sort of dreaming and things like that. But deep sleep, there's no sense of time at all. Under anesthetic, it's gone too. It's even in deep meditation, it's gone. We might have a really deep meditation and no idea whether we've been gone for 30 seconds or 30 minutes, so the own timelessness you can begin to experience begins to permeate the waking state. The waking state is really just a dream too. It is the infinite self dreaming itself to be a finite, limited being, but using the senses to confirm that as well. At nighttime, we dream we're a separate being, but we don't involve the senses so much. The body can just sleep a little bit, just as the mind and the images that we're using. So timelessness is your real nature. And at first it's a little weird when it starts to switch over. It can be a little disorientating. And for me, there was a lot of freaking out about, am I going to remember to pick the kids up from school? But of course, the infinite self has and always will be timeless. So nothing is changing in that. And as we allow this seeming changeover of how we interact, it's really just allowing who we really are to function as ourselves, to live as this self that is timeless. So if you can, just relaxing about it a little bit, set an alarm on your phone if you're worried you're going to miss something. I did that for a little while, never needed it, but because I set it, I could relax a little. Time does get all bendy. Eventually, timelessness begins to permeate your whole waking state because it is who you are. And from there, some weird and wacky things can happen, but they're good and they're fun rather than being confusing and upsetting. So I hope that helps. But again, do ask for more clarity if you need it.
Next question is from Michael. What awaits me after the death of my physical body? Will I be thinking, oh, I'm out now, as an astral body flying around, experiencing and meeting the souls of the physical bodies I knew in this life?
So I've answered a couple of questions previously on this, so I'd ask you to go and listen to those in this video, literally 2 questions back, I think, and 3 or 4 questions back. But nothing really is going to change for you. You are that astral form right now. Astral form using the physical form to listen through physical ears. I am that different astral form, not separate to you, but different, unique expression, using this body to speak. So we are already also, you and me, just like everyone, having a interaction on that astral level too. It's not just physical or astral, it is always both. And then just astral, no physical for a while. And this happens every night time when we sleep. It's nothing new. We're just so biased towards a physical form in human nature that we forget what happens during the night. We give more reality and to the physical waking state, and we give total unreality to what happens in between. So if you just took off some clothes at nighttime, you took off your clothes, nothing has happened to you. You've just taken your outfit off. And that's what you do every night. You slip off the physical body. And so it will just be a recognition that I'm no longer in that physical form. And you can have that even before death with enough spiritual seeing of who you really are. So hope that helps. But again, do ask for more clarity if you need it. Thank you.
Next question is from Vidran. Hello. If you are the self, knowing all cameras in this world, can you ever manifest something helpful in this world? Like knowing where is some lost child and helping parents and police or telling people that the tsunami is coming and something like this. Thank you.
You can, given enough recognition of your own oneness, given enough recognition that you are all forms, that you are omnipresent, you absolutely can, and those things will begin to happen. They can be a distraction along the way. Sometimes they begin to happen even before we have seen who we are. If you look at psychics and people like that, it's really just the oneness poking through into the waking state and the sense of timelessness. But those things will begin to happen. It happens pretty much every day. I'll message someone and they'll go, "How did you know I just needed help with something?" Or, what the mind would call a coincidence. But really it's the oneness. So these things begin to happen in terms of being able to see something that hasn't physically unfolded yet, or see something from a distant location. They are something happening in a distant location, rather. They are classically called the siddhis, or miraculous powers that tend to develop for any awakened being. But it is really just normal and obvious from there. It's not special or magical. It's not anything that any awakened being is doing. It is something that they're being. It is a property of the consciousness, which is omnipresent, the real self, not anything that any individual is doing. So those things do happen. As always, I just feel pulled to give a warning that that they can be a huge distraction. When they come by themselves, unsought, then that's the right time. And there'll be an aid then to deepening your own seeing rather than a distraction. Thank you, Karen.
Next question is from Mimi. What or how would you know if you were in unbound consciousness versus having a calm mind? I heard this from another teacher and it confused me. What would be your take on this? Thank you.
Yeah, good question. So a calm mind would be absence of thoughts. So you'd be aware of the fact that your mind isn't speaking. So if you just look right now and ask, is your mind talking right now? What's it thinking? So you know in that looking whether your mind is thinking or not right now. So a calm mind, I'm guessing you mean a quiet mind. Calm mind would be something you're looking at. Unbound consciousness, unbounded, would be something you're looking from. That which is seeing the mind is unbounded, unlimited, infinite, formless, and omnipresent. So that would be more of a seeing of your own nature. What am I really actually, through self-inquiry or spontaneous insight? The mind is something that you're looking at. It is an object that you can see thought by thought by thought. And you are not an object. You are that in which all objects appear, the noumenon, the real self, the supreme self. That which is aware of all phenomena is not a phenomenon and has no shape, no space, no shape, no size, rather. no attributes at all. Can't see it, can't touch it, can't taste it. And yet it is the only thing that's here. All apparent phenomena, even the mind, is made out of it, because that's the only thing there is to make anything out of. All creation is only an appearance arising in it. So, very simply, a calm mind would be something that you're aware of. And unbounded consciousness would be something that you are. It gets a little confusing because a calm mind tends to come with a recognition of who you really are. So people do get them confused. But rather than trying to stop the mind, which is impossible, finding out who you are and then realizing there's nothing else to think about, the mind goes quiet anyway. So hope that helps. Thanks, Karen.
The next question is from user. If one attends Alcoholics Anonymous and identifies at meetings as an alcoholic, how can one integrate this when investigating the infinite self?
Yep. So the alcoholic in us is going to be a part of our separate self, our separate sense of self, and or our individuality, our uniqueness, my own soul, uniqueness, whatever, and later the separateness, separate self that formed in thoughts. That's hard to say. Formed in thoughts is and was had this tendency to be addicted. So I can recognize that trait, that quality, that tendency within me without judgment. I can see that I used to think it was me. And I can see that now I am something much bigger than that. And that tendency still might remain dormant or latent in our consciousness after we've transcended the separate sense of separateness. And perhaps this is why we might hear that statement, I'm an alcoholic, spoken at meetings and things like that, just as a way to guard against any complacency and things like that. But knowing who you really are, you have never been the addict. The addict is a function of the manifestation, and usually some kind of way to avoid looking at whatever is happening in our life. So I hope that helps. I don't really want to comment on too much on what goes on in 12-step meetings because I've never been to one. I know many people that have and you know are absolutely 12-step is amazing. And many people come into Satsang from 12-step meetings. But it might also be helpful to ask other people who have been through that process and are still involved in the 12-step just to get a different aspect of an answer. So hope that helps. Thanks, Karen.
Marianne writes in to say thank you.
Thank you.
And the next question is from Benetton. Ask Helen anything. Okay. The quiet bliss of your luminous presence leads me inward to bask in silence. And I have been thrilled by some passages from your books. Yet still, I want to run my hands through your gorgeous hair, embrace you, and kiss your pretty face. I inquire, who wants to embrace, caress, and kiss Helen? But these inappropriate desires remain. I feel embarrassed and guilty, so conflicted. Should I just stay away from you? Suggestions.
Well, first, let me thank you for your honesty. It takes courage to write that and to leave it there too, I should imagine. So I want to say well done for that. And the thing that struck me in what you said is inappropriate. That word just jumped out. So if we look at desire, my own journey with sexual desire was the biggest teacher of my entire life. It was something I was, and I'm not suggesting that your desire is sexual. I don't know. It might be, it might not be, but just for sake of example, it was something that I was very ashamed of. I seemed to have a lot of it, and I didn't know what to do with it. And it was just a very challenging time. And eventually I had this breakthrough that it's just desire. It's just desire. When it's in the root chakra area, we call it sexual arousal, sexual desire. When it's in the sacral chakra, second one up, we call it desire for intimacy. When it's in the solar plexus, we call it desire for achieving what we want, fulfilling our desires. It's desire for love in the heart chakra, desire for clear self-expression and being able to be yourself in the throat chakra. On and on it goes. Desire for clear seeing in the third eye, desire for union with God, the self, the reality, supreme, in the crown chakra. So the reason it gets stuck in a particular chakra is because we're suppressing it, we're ashamed of it, we're afraid of it, afraid of the intensity of it. So is it an inappropriate desire? And is it really about me, as in Helen? Or is it just some energy that you are not fully allowing? Not fully allowing. When we fully allow a desire, it doesn't mean we have to act on it. It just means we're fully feeling it. For me, I'd got so used to being afraid of my own desires, as I've seen countless people, that and I didn't know how to actually feel it. When I actually decided I wanted to just feel it, and this happened by degrees, not suddenly it was all magically fixed. Then it began to move up the chakra system. It began to, and I began to experience a deeper peace. I wasn't feeling any peace at all. And then as it moved further up, there was just this sense of love that began to emerge for all life. Deep sense of communion with reality, and then a recognition I am reality as it, sort of moved all the way up. So this is what's trying to happen for you, I'm fairly certain. And it's totally fine to find someone physically attractive or to find their voice pleasing or any of that. What I'm most concerned with in what you said is inappropriate. There's kind of self-rejection that's going on there. And perhaps you can see everyone has sexual desire at some point, right? Everyone. Or desire for intimacy, desire for love. And we cannot and we do not need to blame ourselves for that. It's normal, absolutely normal. It might feel less appropriate if it's directed at someone like a spiritual teacher, but these things we need to discuss. Less appropriate to you, I mean. But desire is always appropriate. That's how life expands, isn't it? On a physical level, life expands through our sexuality. On an emotional level, through our intimacy and so on. So I hope that helps. Only inappropriate if you say it is, and if you allow it, you'll find it begins to move up through the system and doesn't necessarily have to be expressed. So thank you for your honesty, and I hope that helps, but do ask for more clarity if you need it. Thank you, Karen.
Next question is from Ideologue. Do you have anything to say about signs, guidance, intuition, seemingly guiding someone into life's purpose or part of one that involves a hedonistic lifestyle and still continue to open one's heart and one's Kundalini rise? Honestly, I'm asking this for my ego that has doubts and worries relating to a fear of falling to the dark side through being tricked or one's own weak choices. Because while I enjoy what I'm being encouraged to do, it's not conventionally spiritual at all. It doesn't even seem like the middle way. It's instead embracing desire, not only in acceptance, but also in action.
Okay, so it might be helpful to have a little more detail on that, but I'll have a go at it the best I can. Whatever desires we're embracing, if we're going to embrace them, let's fully embrace them. What do I really want? What do I actually want? So if it's a particular lifestyle or way of being in the world, hedonistic, you said, that's a wide umbrella, so a term. So in the most classic sense, pleasure seeking. So looking at why we're seeking pleasure. And again, this doesn't mean we don't actually seek pleasure, just looking at why, so we're not doing it unconsciously and then not falling away from the pathway because of it. Why do I want what I want is a really enlightening question to ask. What's it going to give me that I don't think I have right now? So recognizing that what you want because it's going to make you feel a certain way. And I think you're pretty clued up on that already. It sounds like. And then questioning why you can't feel that way now. So there are all kinds of things we could do to feel really, really good. But they'd be temporary states. And if you recognize that the recognition of who you really are is perhaps the best way to feel permanently really, really good. Once you've worked through the beliefs in the way of living like this, you can feel amazingly good. And it beats any temporary experience. And of course, you can indulge in those temporary experiences, but you won't need to do them in order to feel a certain way. We could be talking about alcohol, drugs, sex, sexuality, anything here at all. And for me, it just became more obvious that if I'm going to seek pleasure, I might as well seek the only source of permanent, stable pleasure that has no come down, that has no after effects, no side effects, nothing. It doesn't cost me anything. It just is. And then whatever my body does from there will be aligned with that truth, and I won't be able to fall off of a path, so to speak. So hope that helps. But again, if you need more, let me know. Thanks, Karen.
That was our last question.
Thank you. Was there one there saying a fee for what is free, I think?
I'm sorry. Yes, a
Yeah.
fee for what is free.
Okay, I just wanted to discuss that because it comes up every now and again. It's in response, I think, to someone asking about charges for spiritual teachings and things like that. And in the previous, I think, volume 23, this is 24. And I remember reading on the comments a fee for what is free. And I just want to say something about that because it comes up again and again, people feeling that they shouldn't have to pay anything for spiritual teaching. And it's something that holds people back, really. So let's just bring some light to it. Is it free, this teaching? I mean, the Zoom account that I'm using right now with Karen to record this costs money. The website that we use to advertise the events and organize and submit satsang questions, everything costs money. There are many, many different aspects of things that cost money. Technology, even the electric that I'm using right now to use to charge this laptop. So it's a common thing, a misconception that the teaching itself is free, but some of us are happy to use these things that have cost money and cost me money, should I say. So just to kind of start to think differently about how we look at this, because the old paradigm is that we, perhaps a teacher would live in an ashram and live on donations given by students either living at the ashram or coming to study there. That was the old way. But now, and still is in some countries, of course, and there's nothing wrong with that. But now a lot of teachers are just like every other human being. They have kids, they might even still have a job, a house to support. And just like anything else, I mean, you wouldn't go into a food shop and expect to just take the food and not have to pay for it. There must be some payment there. So an awakened being has to support themselves like anyone else. And if you look at the actual prices of the events that I offer, you'll see they are ridiculously low as I could possibly do. And every year we give away so many scholarships from donations that have come in to help people attend events that couldn't. So I'm not sure if this is what you were meaning by that little phrase. I just wanted to express this, and I have. So thank you so much, Karen, as always, for reading the questions. And just as I said at the beginning, if you do have a question or a challenge or something you're struggling with that you'd like me to address next time, please feel free to leave a comment here underneath the YouTube video. We'll look at this together, me and Karen, in about 4 weeks from now. Again, we try to do it once a month where time permits. So thank you for all your amazing questions that you've sent in. And thank you for participating in this with me. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.